And we are live. Cue the music. Here we go. All right. Hey there, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays here at the International Data Evaluation Center on the beautiful yet slightly chilly campuses of The Ohio State University. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special edition of I Love Data Fridays today. We are having a special edition that's going over the Reading Recovery Follow-Up Study, and we are going to be talking with the researchers at the Center for Research in Education and Social Policy at the University of Delaware. So, hey, who's talking data to you today? Well, of course, you've got me, Jeff Breimer-Bashore, Director of IT and Operations here at the International Data Evaluation Center. And joining me in just a few moments, we have them on our webinar here from the Center for Research in Education and Social Policy. That's CRESP for short, at the University of Delaware. I have Dr. Akeisha Jones, Dr. Henry May, Horatio Blackman, Ali Engert, and Sue Giancola. And I will let them introduce themselves here in a second. Just so you know, today's agenda, what we're going to have today is we're going to do a quick presentation about the Reading Recovery Follow-Up Study. So we have about a 30-minute presentation about the follow-up study, and then we are going to do a Q&A session at the end. And at the end, you can either type your questions in the YouTube chat channel. I will be monitoring them there, or we also have a question website at www.slido.com, and then you just enter in the event number X171. So that's www.slido.com, event X171. And as we start the presentation slides, I will put that URL at the bottom of the screen so you can see it. Let's move over here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to talk a little data. And what I'm going to do, Akeisha, I'm going to turn things over to you. Give me 1 second. I got to get your slides up on the screen here and in full screen. And Akeisha, I am ready for you to take over.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Akeisha Jones. I am a research assistant professor here at the Center for Research in Education and Social Policy, also known as CRESP. And today we're just going to talk about the follow-up study, the data collection activities associated with the follow-up study to reading recovery. Some of you sat through the first webinar, but many of you have not, because you all have been asked to participate in the follow-up study at data collection activities for the first time. So we're going to do just a brief overview of the actual study, as well as what we're trying to do with this particular, in terms of data collection. So previously, we received funding in 2010, started a study in 2011 of reading recovery, a scale-up study of reading recovery, which found evidence of large impacts of reading recovery on students' first grade literacy. This study is intended to examine if the impacts were sustained through third and fourth grades. It's conducted by researchers here at CRESP in conjunction with IDEC and OSU. So as a part of this study, we are looking to collect both survey data and test data. We'll talk more about that throughout this webinar. And the focus, the sampling for this follow-up study, at least this first phase of it, is we're focused on I3 schools as well as non-I3 schools. We've sought additional funding to collect data among the non-I3 schools. So that data collection period will happen shortly after this, once we receive the funding. But right now we're focused on I3 schools who had students in the study in the 2011-12 year. So that would have been the first year of the study, and who had at least 7 reading recovery students and 2 tested non-instruction students in each of those years. So the people who are, you all who are on the call, have been invited to participate in this study because you all meet that criteria, at least for cohort 1. So whoever is on the call or whoever has been designated to collect data is either a reading recovery teacher or a teacher leader. And for helping us out with the data collection activities, you will receive a $75 gift card after completing both the imputation of the test data as well as completing the survey. And that's for each school. So if you're a teacher who is collecting data for multiple schools, you'll receive $75 gift card for each of the schools you collect the data for. This is just a timeline of when we're trying to collect data for this study. As you can see, highlighted in red, we're starting with cohort 1. We'll start with cohort 2 around February of this year, and so on and so forth. So this is a 3-year study. And as we collect data, you'll get more information and emails from us. So far we've done the pre-survey, and that is what you saw, you've been getting emails about before. Our pre-survey is intended to identify who will actually collect the data for each school. So thank you everybody who has completed that pre-survey. If you have not and you're on the call, we encourage you to do so as soon as possible. So that, because we will be launching the survey on Monday, so that we know who will be collecting the data for your schools. Today we're going to go and we're going to talk about the student and school survey. It's one survey that's collecting data on both students and schools, as well as the submission of test data. So to start, the survey is intended to answer 2 questions. One is, can variability in the persistence of impacts be explained by school level or student level factors? So basically, we're wanting to know if the impacts that we've seen or that we intend to see going from 1st grade through 3rd and 4th grades can be explained by other factors, as well as we want to identify whether there were performance monitoring or interventions that students experience between their 1st and 4th grade. So that's the intention of this survey. There's 3 parts to it. The first part looks at their students' primary literacy curriculum. So that's their primary. So you'll have to identify, even if they were involved in more than one, identify what their primary literacy is and provide some care. So there are questions around the characteristics of that literacy curriculum, including instructional time, structure and content of classes, and student groupings. That's the first section. The second section looks at school characteristics. We want to know what grade levels were offered in between those 1st and 4th grade years, whether there were changes in administration during those years. And then the last section looks at students' literacy interventions and progress. So we want to know if the student was retained between those periods of time, whether they received an IEP, whether they were continuously monitored, and we also will walk you through how we want to know the actual literacy interventions they may or may not have received from 1st through 4th grade. So I'm going to pass this along to Allie Engler. She has been the primary designer of this survey. She will walk you through what we're actually going to be looking for throughout this survey that will be launched on Monday.
Hello, so this is Allie. So I'm going to walk you through some screenshots of what the actual survey questions are going to look like and just do some verbal explanation on top of that. So the first thing that you're going to be asked is to identify the students that we have on our records that were either TNI or reading recovery, and
start streaming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are back live after a brief interruption. I was just telling my colleagues, this is what happens when your kids upstairs decide to reset the internet right on the middle of a webinar. So I am going to have Allie take over again here. Allie, I've got your stuff up on the screen, and we're going to pray to the internet gods real quick that the kids decide not to reset it on us again. So Allie, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So I was regaling Akeisha and Henry here with the sound of my awesome voice. So glad that I'm once again streaming. So I'm just going to start back from the top. But basically, what I'm going to be doing is walking you through actual screenshots of the survey and just kind of doing a verbal overlay of the questions you'll see, and hopefully answer any questions you may have at the end. So first things first is we will be asking you to identify the following students and where they attended school for their 4th grade year. This is going to be auto-populated with students that we have from our database that we have assigned to your school. And we're going to be asking you if they are still attending that same school. In this example, we have Willard as our school name. If they're attending a different school in the same district, and if you if you cannot locate the student for 4th grade. Now, if you cannot locate the student, they will be dropped off, so you will no longer see them for the rest of the survey. However, we are still asking that you collect test data on them. So again, students that cannot be located will not be included in the survey, but we are asking for test data. And if they attended a different school in the same district, you will be asked in a separate screen if whether or not you feel that you can locate the students to provide curriculum and intervention data. If yes, they will be included. If no, they will not be included. And just as a kind of a footnote here, we have 3 students included here as an example. However, there may or may not be more students depending on what data we have for your particular school. So, sorry about that. So as Akeisha mentioned earlier, we are asking for information on the primary reading or literacy curriculum used for the following students in their 4th grade year. So the survey is going to cover multiple grades, and it's going to be in reverse chronological order. So first up is going to be 4th grade, then 3rd grade, and so on and so forth. Now we are asking you to only choose the primary curriculum, and from this drop-down, you will only be able to choose one option. In this example, we've lost Teddy because we weren't able to find him. We couldn't locate him for 4th grade. So now we're down to Florence and Regina. Now, in this case, we have each student having received a different primary curriculum. This may or may not be the case with your students. Maybe it was broken down by classroom where a different curriculum was received, or maybe all the students received the same curriculum. If everyone did receive the same curriculum, you will only have to answer questions regarding that curriculum once, but you will have to identify that curriculum here in the drop-downs. If, like in this case, if there are 2 or more curriculums, you will have to answer questions for each curriculum. However, we try to make this as as simple as possible, so there will only be 7 curriculum questions for each curriculum. So now that we've selected Engage in Why and Journeys for our 2 students, we are directed towards the curriculum page.
Ellie, I'm going to interrupt you because I've gotten a question twice now, and I just want to make sure everyone knows the answer to this question. I know we are only talking about cohort 1, so the question has come up twice. Is it possible that you may be involved in multiple cohorts? And it is possible that you may be involved in multiple cohorts. So you are receiving this survey right now for cohort 1, but if your school was part of the study in subsequent years, you will be asked to participate again.
No. Okay, so now that we're on the curriculum page, the first question that you're going to be asked is, on a typical day in the student's 4th grade year, please estimate the total amount of time spent using Engage in Why, that's the curriculum that we're going to go with for our example, with students. And this is just a simple text box asking you to enter numeric values in minutes of how many minutes was spent per day on this curriculum. The next question is asking, please estimate the percentage of time spent using Engage in Why on the following skills in the student's 4th grade year. We have 4 skills already pre-populated, and then there's the option for another skill for you to identify. And please note, this might end up causing issues down the road, but the total, it must sum up to 100. So just be aware of that while you are filling out these percentiles above. Next question is, was Engage in Why scheduled in a single block of time? And this is going to be broken down into every day, 3 to 4 days a week, 1 to 2 days a week, or this curriculum instruction was not blocked. Next, we're going to start getting into the grouping questions. So the first of these is asking how were students grouped for Engage in Why in 2014-15. You will have 4 options and then an additional text box in case the above does not apply. And then based on that prior question, and I keep doing that, based on that prior question, within that grouping, how was the curriculum delivered? And we have options of whole class, individual, and group instruction. And then how often did these groupings change under the curriculum in the student's 4th grade year? The groupings never changed. They changed once in that year, two to three times that year, every other month, or 1 or more times per month. And then lastly, we are asking if there were any primary literacy supports provided for teachers during the student's 4th grade year. Please note here that teachers is the key word. So we're asking for supports for teachers. And then you can select whatever supports apply. Now, after you finish the 4th grade curriculum, you will then go through automatically and repeat these same questions for 3rd grade. And at that point, you will then be directed towards this matrix, and it's going to ask you to indicate if a different literacy curriculum was used for the students prior to their 3rd grade year. So keyword here being their 3rd grade year. So for example, if the student received Engage in Y in 3rd grade, did that differ for 1st and 2nd grade? So our 4 options are same curriculum was received for both 1st and 2nd grade, different curriculum for one of those 2 years, or different for both years. This is independent based on students, so you could have a student who received the same curriculum for both years and simultaneously have a student that received different curriculum for both years. Now, if you have any students at all that fall into any of these 3 categories, you will be directed through those curriculum questions for 1st and 2nd grade, depending on what is relevant. However, if all of your students receive the same curriculum for both years, you will not have any further curriculum questions at this point, and you will be directed on directly to the school characteristics. So now that we've covered what the curriculum section is like, this is section 2, and this is school characteristics. And it's primarily based off of 2 key questions. The first asks what grade levels were offered at your school in the student's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade year. And then asking, did the school administrator change between students' 1st and 2nd grade year, 2nd and 3rd grade year, or 3rd and 4th grade year? And that is all that we have in our school characteristics. So now we move on to student characteristics and interventions. Now, something that I should mention here at the beginning is this is our last section of the survey, and we realize that this might be a little bit more time intensive than the other parts. So we have formatted the survey so it is printer friendly. So you're encouraged to print it out, take the time that you need to track down some of this information, and that would also be a great time to collect student test data as well, because at that point you can come back in and you can log in to the survey again using the link from your email. You can put in all this info at one fell swoop and then go directly on to the IDAC test page, test data, or test scores page, sorry about that. So.
About the survey link that you'll receive in the email on Monday, that link will always be an active link until you complete the survey. So anytime you want to step away, the survey will always save the data as you input it. So if you want to put in the curriculum data and then step away and gather some more information, always go back to that original email and click that link, and you can continue through the survey.
It'll pick up right where you left off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can also, let's say that you have a school that has a large number of students. You could actually print this page if you wanted, and then go do a little research, talk to a couple teachers, then click the link the next day, and then be able to input the data. You'd be able to pick up right where you left off.
And just to underscore something that Akeisha and Henry just mentioned, there is no save button on the survey. It is automatically saved. You will only see a back button and a continue button. The back button is good through the entire survey. You can go back from the last question all the way to the first question, and continue we'll get to in a little bit. However, don't be alarmed if you don't see a save button. It's safe to exit the browser at any time. So For our student-related questions, the first question that you're going to see is regarding grade levels, and it's asking what grade levels were the following reading recovery students in for each academic year. Notice we're back to having our 2 students here, and the point of this question is just to see if any students were retained or even skipped a year. So you will have a drop-down with some pre-populated grades. Now this first column, 2012 through 2013, it would be expected that the student would be in 2nd grade, and then 3rd, 4th. However, please identify what grade level the student actually was in during those academic years. Next, please indicate if the student had an IEP with a reading designation for their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th grade year. And similarly, please indicate if the student was continuously monitored at least on a monthly basis for reading problems in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade years. Now, this is the last type of question that we have, and you will see this question for every student that you're able to provide data on, and is asking what type of literacy interventions did this particular student receive in their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade school years. And on the left-hand side, we're going to have some pre-populated options of common interventions, as well as 3 other categories. So you can type in up to 3 additional interventions. And you are free to check all that apply for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. And going back to what Henry was mentioning, as this question is based off of every individual student, if you need to print this out and you know, take it around to talk to other folks, please feel free to do so. Now, this is the final screen that you will see before you submit your data. Please be sure that everything that you have is correct before you hit continue here. Once you hit continue, the survey will be submitted and it will be essentially locked down. We cannot reopen it, so if after you submit it you realize that there was an error on one of the questions, the only thing that we will be able to do is to send you a brand new link and you'll have to complete the entire survey all over again. So please make sure that you utilize the back button if you have any concerns whatsoever. And then when you are confident that everything is good to go, just hit continue and you will see this screen. It has a direct hyperlink to IDEX test score data entry page right here, which Akeisha and Jeff will both talk about here in a second. And then as a final reminder, it also has our direct email address, cresp-rr@udel.edu. And please feel free to contact us if you have any survey related questions. I'm gonna hand it back over to Akeisha here, and she'll be able to help us through the test score section.
Yeah, so just a real quick recap. Thank you, Allie, for going through the survey. If you all ever have questions about some of the survey items, once again, feel free to contact us through email. You can also visit this link for the webinar. This will be saved, so you can always come back to this webinar and get more detail as Allie has spelled out about different items on the survey. But we are here to help if you have any questions. So the second part, oh, and you have a month to complete the survey. So the deadline to complete the survey is February 28th, so the end of February. So you do have time, no need to feel rushed about this process, but if you do have questions along the way, let us know. So there's the survey, as Ali has spelled out, but there's also the test score data that we are looking to collect through this study. The test score will help us estimate the long-term impacts of reading recovery based off their reading state test scores through the 3rd and 4th grade years, as well as help us estimate school level variability. So if there are differences in impacts across schools based on these test scores that are submitted. So those will be submitted through IDEC, and just briefly, we're looking for the submission of 3rd and 4th grade scale scores of students reading or English language arts state assessment scores. So this is for each student that you will collect the survey data on, but also if you're not able to locate one of your students in their 4th grade year for the survey, we still would like their test score data. So that list of students that you'll receive through the survey, if you can't track them, can you please collect their test score data and submit their scale scores, the name of the test, and the reason that the test score data might be missing if it is. So Jeff, I will hand it over to you to briefly go over how to submit that test score data through IDEC.
All right, thank you, Akeisha. So, I tell you what, Akeisha, why don't you hit next on the slides there?
Yep, sorry.
That good. All right. So now we're talking about, as Keisha was saying, we're talking about submitting this test score data, and this is going to be done using the IDEC website. And we have a page where either teachers or teacher leaders can enter in these data about the students. I will say that if you have a student that was being served by a teacher that is no longer a part of your reading recovery site, but you have like a new teacher at this school, the new teacher won't be able to enter the test score data on our website. The teacher leader will have to do it, but the teacher can still go and locate the test score data, but they can, but the teacher leader will have to enter it on the website. If you have this scenario where a student belonged to a previous reading recovery teacher and that teacher is no longer a part of reading recovery. When you enter the test score data, all you're going to have to do is click the save button. There's no need to click that submit button. Just click save. This allows you, kind of like if you wanted to with the survey data about the curriculum, if you're like looking up third grade data one day, you can come look up that third grade data, enter it on the website, click save, and then another day go look up that fourth grade data, come back and enter the fourth grade data on the website. So we're going to see how we do it now. I'm going to switch around a few screens here. There we go. And let me bring up the website. I got to hit the refresh button here. And give me a second, folks. I'm going to get to our test site. All right, so here we go. First thing you're going to do is that you're going to notice this school year drop-down list here on the left-hand side of the screen. And so, for example, if we are entering data for kids who were served in the 2011-12 school year, we will simply just select 2011-12. This will cause our screen to refresh here. And you will notice then that a new column is appearing here on the right-hand side of the data entry screen for our students, and it's this University of Delaware follow-up column. And if you click on the data entry page, it will bring up this screen right here. Two columns of information. This first column on the left is for your third grade data. The column on the right is for your fourth grade data. And what we're asking to be inputted is the first box for each grade asks for the scale, for the name of the reading or English language arts assessment given to the student. If none was given, just type in the word none and put that in there. And then for each, for third and fourth grade, the second question, we're asking for that student's scale score. All right, so if you have that scale score, you enter it in there. And then finally, for each grade, for each student, we have this last question, it's a comment box. And it's merely if the student score is missing, we just ask if you can please briefly explain why. So, I mean, if it's simply that the child moved before third or fourth grade, you can simply type in there, child moved before third or fourth grade. And then, like I said earlier, all you need to do is click the save button right there. Just click that save button, that'll save it into the database. Don't click the submit button, otherwise we'll have to return it to you. Just stick it right in there. So there we go. This is how we will enter the test score data on the IDEC website. So now I am going to refine where I put our screens there with the slides. There they are. And Akeisha and group, I will turn it back over to you.
Yes, so just to wrap up, what to look for next from CRES is the survey that will launch on Monday. That is this Monday, January 22nd. So you'll receive the survey along with your ability to go ahead and upload your test score data through IDEC. Please, we've been having a bit of trouble with our survey administration website that we've been using So we are trying a different method to send out our survey this time around. So if you have not received your survey, and please check your spam folder first, but if you haven't received it by January 22nd, feel free to reach out to us to ask us where the survey link might be, because we are trying something a little different that we hope will work better than what we were working with the first time around. So the emails will come from the Center for Research in Education and Social Policy. And right in that email, you will see some brief instructions about the survey, and then you will find your personalized link with your students in your school. For those teachers or teacher leaders who have multiple schools that will be collecting data on, you will receive multiple emails. So there's a survey link for each, there's an email that you will receive for each school. So don't be alarmed, it just means that you'll be doing more. You will receive the incentive once we'll be releasing the incentive, the $75 gift cards every 30 days. So we will be checking for both your test score of submission as well as your survey completion data. And as soon as every 30 months, we will release the $75 gift card to the data collection, the person who has been identified to collect the data for that school.
Akeisha, can I add one thing in real quick?
Sure.
If when you're entering the test score data on IDEC and you don't see the U of Delaware follow-up page appear there, I mean, we've tried very hard to make sure we got it all set up for every school, but if it doesn't appear for that student or school, just email the IDEC help desk and we'll get it on there. So.
Okay, so Jeff, I get the questions. So do you mind if I jump to a question?
Go for it, yeah.
So someone asked if a school or district belonging to the teacher in cohort 1 is no longer active, will the teacher leader need to request data to be reopened in IDEC? If not active, they're not a part of this. That we've tried out. Go ahead, Jeff. What were you going to say?
Well, I think we've tried very hard to only get schools that were active. I mean, but right. I guess maybe Akeisha, what if they have the data and at school for me, I can reactivate it for you guys. I can reactivate it for the teacher leaders to get the data in. I guess the question is, do you guys want it?
So yeah, if there is a non-active school, if you haven't received a survey from us, please let us. I mean, the more school data that we can get, the more we want. So if you can open it up for us and provide us with we're happy to take it. Just let us know.
Yeah, and then let the help desk know that you have an inactive school or school district, and we can reactivate it temporarily for your site, and that way the data can get entered.
So just a brief couple of more things, a couple more resources that we have about the study. There's a web page here that's dedicated to this particular study. There's also a link that describes the data collection activities for the study and a frequently asked questions page. But once again, we are here if you have any questions about the study or about the survey. You can always email us at crest-rr@udel.edu. Any test data or general questions, IDEC can help. So I'm happy to answer any more questions. Anyone has any?
We'll wait here. While we're waiting, I'll check the YouTube chat channel, see if anyone's put anything up there. Don't see any in the YouTube chat yet. As we're waiting to see if we have any question-ins come in, teachers or teacher leaders, if you're kind of at a point where you have a question about something and you don't know who to contact, it's always good. You can always default to asking IDEC, and we'll help triage the question to the right place. So don't worry about, oh no, am I emailing the right person? If you're not sure, just contact the help desk, and we'll make sure it gets routed to the right people.
Good point.
We'll give it about 30 more seconds here.
I'll add one more thing. The survey is meant to be pretty user-friendly. If there are questions you cannot answer about a specific curriculum, it does give you the option to skip some of the questions. But if you're stuck on a question that you can't get past, just let us know. We'll try and figure out a way to get you through the survey. If you don't know a question, but it's a required question, we're here to get you through that process. But generally speaking, you should be able to get through the questions, even if you don't have all the answers.
All right, well, I'm not seeing anything come in, Keisha, so I think
Okay.
we're good. So
Sounds good.
all right, so ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we'll say thank you for all of the folks over there at CRESP for coming together and putting in for this for our presentation today, giving up their time. I'm trying to stall here so I can get to my outro screen. Hey, there we go. So ladies and time to start that outro music. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for attending this webinar on our I3 follow-up study, reading recovery follow-up study. And hey, have a good weekend, and ladies and gentlemen, we will talk data to you later.